Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Welcome to the Sweaty Dive podcast. I am one half of your hosts, known as Buff Charmander, joined as always by KG.
Yo.
And as I just mentioned, we're here to talk about the first film in Marvel Phase 5. I believe this is the 32nd or 33rd movie in the larger Marvel canon. KG, let's just jump right into it. This is going to be a very interesting discussion. We saw the movie yesterday together. We didn't really talk about it at all. What are your 24 hours later fresh impressions of the movie? First reaction.
Well, one of my first reactions is thinking about how when we left the movie, we didn't talk about the movie. And usually when you and I see it with a group of our friends, we will talk about the film, but then you and I kind of look at each other and we're like, we'll save all of our meaty stuff for the pod. But we didn't have to work hard to not talk about it. And thinking about it now today, 24 hours later, it makes me think of a movie that I watched literally right after Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it was Banshees of Inisherin. If you have not seen the film yet, I highly recommend. But that movie, obviously there are different films for a myriad of reasons, but Banshees had me thinking during the film and then up until this very conversation. And right before we hit record, I told you I want to bring it up because there were things that happened in Banshees that I'm going to be thinking about for the next days, weeks, months, up until Oscar season, doing research with different deep dives and videos of what did this mean, what did that mean, was my theory correct? And usually I can do those with Marvel films as well, but I'm sorry to say that with this one, I just I moved on. It was, you summed it up well, and I don't know if I wish you didn't say this before or if I'm happy you did, but you said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you heard in one of the reviews that the film was basically like a 2-hour plus Marvel episode of a Marvel Disney Plus show. And honestly, when the film ended, it felt just like that. And I was pretty disappointed overall. It just felt flat. Without being too into it right now, it just felt flat.
Flat is kind of it felt like the word of the day when I'm thinking about that movie. It's weird. I think that a lot of people right now are kind of in this. The online discussion right now is Ant-Man that bad that people are talking about? And I've brought it up on this podcast multiple times, I'm pretty sure. I just think a lot of people are confused as to what Rotten Tomatoes actually is and how it works. So that kind of fuels I'm serious, and I understand why people are confused, and I think Rotten Tomatoes does it on purpose. Love the site, but it does kind of help them stay in the conversation because of it. That percentage number just means that percentage of critics gave it I believe it would be like a C review or higher. C minus or lower, then it's a negative score. That's what it's considered. And it's just an aggregator. It takes in a bunch of people's scores, and then it posts them as this one big percentage. What I can do for us right now, actually, is look up Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So it has a 47% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Holy Christ.
Yes, it dropped a little bit.
A little bit?
That's on 303 reviews. The average
40? Wait, what was that? 46?
47%.
That's bad.
So the average score is a 5.6 out of 10. There are 142 fresh scores, 161 rotten. Here is the audience score, 84% on 5,000 plus verified ratings with an average of 4.2 out of 5 rating. So that's just so people can kind of get an idea of some of the numbers that are going on here and how this stuff works. Basically, what this movie is a movie that has critics divided but leaning negative, and audience members kind of just going the exact opposite way, which is very interesting. It's happened a couple times. I think Eternals was like this. I want to say The Rise of Skywalker was like this too. And I'm thinking like pretty similar in terms of the scores, and I'll pull that up maybe while you're talking, so I'm not talking and typing and accidentally say The Rise of Skywalker mid-sentence when I'm not meaning to. For me, to answer the question, is Quantumania that bad? For me, the answer is no. Mm-hmm. but I also don't find it to be that good. I think it is a very average, and spoiler warning for the rest of the podcast. We get into spoilers here, and we haven't had a conversation like this ever on the pod, where we're kind of both trying to work through our feelings on a movie, not unlike what we had with the Tenet review that we did, but that was more so because we were so curious about the movie, but also not sure if it worked. Here it's more so, this was a really average blockbuster. Like a really, really average blockbuster. Something you would have seen back in like 2004.
I think the key word in that sentence there is blockbuster. If it was just an average movie, if it wasn't a big budget thing, I think a huge problem with these Marvel movies now is that I can't speak for you, but I can for myself. I go into these expecting something, either hopefully always a good movie, which hit and miss, but then if you're going to make this bigger connected universe, things will connect. You will see a lot of people, and I can't speak for you, don't like the cameos all the time. I'm in. It's fine. It's an expanded universe. We'll poke fun. We'll have fun with it. But I feel like a recent movie that just came out, Plane, Gerard Butler, Michael Coulter. If you haven't seen it, pretty great because it knows exactly what it is. And I went into that with zero expectation. And I didn't, of course, there's no connected universe or anything, but I didn't put that movie on thinking this better move me or I better see some grade A action piece. It was just a really decently made, put together film in 2023 that could have crushed the box office in the mid-90s. And it's just a nice, quick watch it. And if you forget it, it's not the end of the world, but you watch it for an hour, 45 minutes. You had fun with it. I feel like when we went into Ant-Man, I wasn't really excited to begin with, which was a little upsetting. And I feel like I kind of have felt like that for the last few Marvel films. But by the end, I was like, what has happened? What am I... I should not now be looking at these films as forgettable when we're 5 phases in, and this is supposed to build to another mega villain that they have not presented entirely that well.
I am so in. Okay. Real quick, we're going to transition right into Kang off that because that was a great. If I was a better pro, I would have had those previous numbers in before this conversation and would have had them offhand. Because that was an excellent transition right there to our first conversation topic, which is Kang the Conqueror. And I agree with you, by the way. Spoiler alert. Here are some numbers for you, just to relate this movie to Rise of Skywalker and to Eternals. Eternals, 47%, so the same number. 77% audience score, with an average of 4 out of 5 for audience. Rise of Skywalker. I want you to tell me what you think the Rise of Skywalker critic number is. The percentage.
Is that the third one of the new ones?
The third one, the one
that one freaking sucked. That was objectively horrible. Anyone who wants to fight me, go ahead. It was trash. I'd say it's probably 45% the real score, and the audience was like 50. If the audience is higher than 50, the audience needs to get it together. Don't tell me it's like 88.
86% audience score.
Dude, that movie sucked.
The critic score is higher than Ant-Man.
What?
It's 52%. Average of 6.10.
I talked through that movie, and I never do that. Particularly in a theater. That movie was bad. I still think the second one was great. That most people did not like. But that's a conversation for another day.
We should maybe look into rewatching those movies and doing a pod on them, because I've been thinking a lot about them, but that's another conversation for another day. Let's talk Kang. So, a little background information about this episode. I have been searching for people's opinions on this movie while I was trying to form my own, just because I wanted to hear because I couldn't find one personally. What's the big conversation piece coming out of this film? With these big, massive blockbusters right now, everyone's making content on it, us included, obviously. But a lot of times there's something specific to talk about. Top Gun Maverick, the incredible physical, practical filmmaking done. Thor: Love and Thunder, unfortunately, some of the bad CGI. How was the jokes in it? How was Christian Bale? Uh, Multiverse of Madness. Did they go multiversal enough? Loki. Whoa. Did they just set up the new Marvel Big Bad? What is the talking point out of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania? I'm here to tell you, bro, there really isn't much of one. Everyone's kind of saying the same stuff. And it's all this. Did you like this? Yes. Did you like this? No. It kind of made me realize I think more people are in our boat than they really want to admit. But some people might be okay with that. But everyone's talking about one thing. And I think you and I kind of disagree with everyone. Everyone is saying Kang is a Thanos-level villain.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's not. He's not. He's not.
And for the record, I had heard that prior to going into the movie. So I'm thinking to myself, the whole movie, I'm thinking to myself, is he gonna kill Scott? Is that how this movie's gonna end? Because what could happen here that makes people think of that? Or
he can't move you with the sight of his finger, with the slight little index finger move. He can't move you, flip you around, force magic, and then you have a karate fight to end the film. It doesn't. The entire third act, I was like, can't Kang just put him into a ball? Like when Scott got big, which clearly was going to happen, and whatever CGI. I will say that the movie did not look bad. I was very nervous that it would look bad. A lot of it is green screen, and I thought for the most part it looked good. So, good for them. I wish there was a little more practical effect in the background, but
can we make a deal? The next big movie that we go see, can we go see it in IMAX?
Oh yeah, I'm in.
Because I haven't seen an IMAX movie in a decade.
Probably since what, Superman, Man of Steel?
That was the last one, and that was really impressive. But I've forgotten how good IMAX looks, and for me, this is our first disagreement here. I didn't love the way the movie looked. I thought there was a lot of stuff that would have been cool, but I found a lot of it to just kind of be like visual. Yeah, like blended in like visual noise almost.
For some reason, I don't know how all this works behind the scenes. That's why you and I are here, and people are in other places of power. But I feel like when I watch a Guardians movie, there's way more practical alien effects like the Star Wars TV shows have. Like Mandalorian, I think, does a very good job. Andor, which I finished and was really good. They make a great use of both CGI, computer generated, and practical, so it blends and overlaps well. I feel like they could have got the creators behind those shows because it's all Disney IP, and you just lend them out to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and you're like, take what you did there for background stuff and make this pop like that. Because I feel like if they had more physical background, like a lot of the costumes made me think of Star Wars. I don't know about you, but like especially when they met the Sand People, that I was like, these look like kind of like the same people from Star Wars. Truskins, I think they're called.
Tusken Raiders, I believe.
Tuskens, okay. There's my Star Wars knowledge for you. But I just feel like a lot of it, like, it didn't look as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder to me, so I was happy about that. But I feel like they could have just had an easy amalgamation mix of these practical background effects with the extra CGI whatnot, and it just makes everything pop and blend more, where, like you're saying, sometimes on the screen it just kind of looks like filler, and like there's supposed to be stuff there.
So here's when I notice it the most. Are you aware? It's okay if you're not. Seriously. Are you? I assume you are, though. Are you aware of what a medium shot is?
No.
So a medium shot... So, all right. I'll just say it like this, without even giving definitions to anything. Anytime there was a shot of... A close enough shot where it was waist up, I noticed the green screen behind them. Like, it just felt like, okay, they are in the volume right now, which is like the big new CGI technology that a lot of movies are making. Fun fact for anyone who didn't know this, if you've watched The Batman, the scene in which Selina and Bruce are on top of the building with the sunset behind them, that was shot on the volume. It's this big new thing. I believe it's called the volume. Is that the correct name?
Sounds good. I don't know.
Well, no, I think you brought it. You might have forgotten this. You brought it up during our Love and Thunder discussion.
You know, I make so many good points. No, but I actually think you're right. That's the Star Wars technology, right?
Yeah. So, I noticed it then. But to kind of go back to your Kang discussion, did here's something that maybe kind of makes sense in my brain, but maybe doesn't make sense out loud. Did it being so much CGI at all times make his powers seem a little bit less, I don't know, a little bit less like wow?
I mean, bottom line, when I look at this movie, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania because this is just a mega bridge to Kang stuff. They used his name just to get us in the seats. When I really think about it, like, how much was Scott in the movie doing stuff? And he didn't seem like he wanted to do anything. And I get that you have to have a hero's journey and ups and downs or whatever, but, like, he really just kind of seemed like a selfish dick. Like, he was just out. And I understand maybe with the fame and whatnot, he had this, like, okay, now I just want to be dad again. But yeah, the way they did no, I want to say thank you, because I'm thinking of Thanos. Thanos is like Jaws, right? Like, we don't get to see him until the end of Avengers. And when it first happened, I had no idea who he was. My brother-in-law had to tell me about him. I did my research, and I was like, damn, all right, this is going to be good. And you don't really see him again throughout the other films until he's like, now I'm just going to do this. You've all screwed this up. And I don't... I'm sure if they did it the same way, we would have the same complaint. Why would you do the villain the same way? But I feel as though if you're going to have Kang like that, then if you're going to have 100 different versions of Kang, then maybe have this one not be that strong. Because the way he came off was like he's God. But then by the end of the film, Scott Lang can beat him. And
He's
not
dead.
To knock...
He dies.
not to knock Ant-Man. But like I feel like his movies are always just kind of like more fun romps. And this is, to me, like, it's kind of a disservice to Paul Rudd and these people that work on this movie because when I, the viewer, look at this, I don't look at this as an Ant-Man film. This is really a bridge to what they really want to do. And I'm tired of that. Iron Man 1 was a good movie because it was just a good movie. I feel as though we've talked about this a lot, but it just has to be said again.
No,
they didn't want to set up a universe.
This is a different conversation, though. It's a different conversation. I've been thinking about this last 24 hours. This is not us having this big conversation about, like, oh, what is the state of the MCU? No. We know what it is right now.
It's a mess.
And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think we might be seeing pretty soon, maybe not this year, I'll be honest, maybe not this year, but 2024 onwards, I think we might be seeing a return to form a little bit. And I'll explain why in a bit. But this is not the same conversation. Those movies were good because they were good movies.
And even First Avenger, not the best movie, but Chris Evans is so captivating in that film. I got emotional rewatching it because I believe him. He's so good at being the nice guy. Very good at playing a dick. But he's so genuine. You feel bad that he can't do what he wants to do. And then he wants to do it. You're like, heck yeah. The middle part's very campy with the Secret Service that he works with. That's just like, what is this? But it's fine because he's so good. And I feel like they didn't give Paul Rudd any of that to do.
And by the way,
none of his like sappy moments sucked.
Yeah. So none of this.
And I think it's because the girl. Now at this point, I just have to finish. She was okay. She really wasn't that good. And I feel like I'm not an actor or actress. I don't have any ability like that. But I could really tell when she was working with green screen because her eyes were everywhere.
To be fair, she was in a room full of no one, probably. And
yeah, you be the nicer one. But you can't recast this girl.
Oh.
The way they did that was just not cool. But I didn't have, like, any connection to her. That girl's kind of a dick. Like, she wasn't really that likable. And at the end, I don't know if you heard me in the chair, but she was like, oh, this is my fault. And I was like, hell yeah, it is. You literally did all of this. If you were my kid, I'd be pissed.
But something that we have not even touched on yet. What is her fault? What happened? Nothing's changed.
They're pinging the quantum realm, bro.
No. We're not moving past this. Nothing changes by the end of the movie. Scott and Cassie are kind of fine in the beginning of the movie, if we're being honest. Like, they don't have the best relationship, but they're not, like, at odds.
It even starts like a Disney Plus Marvel show.
It does.
Yeah, it jumps in, like, in the middle of a thought.
Here's my primary difference with the Phase 1 movies and where we are right now, specifically with this movie. Not Love and Thunder, which I hate, by the way. If anyone doesn't know that, I think that's the worst Marvel movie. But even that doesn't have this massive flaw. Multiverse of Madness certainly doesn't have this. Eternals, which is in my bottom 5 Marvel movies, doesn't have this. And even Captain Marvel, which is a movie that I pretty famously do not love, doesn't have this problem. There's no style to this movie. It doesn't feel like someone's directing it. It's so weird to me. Did you feel this way? Like,
I like the way you just articulated that. So you're saying there's no like James Gunn touch or Sam Raimi touch.
None of that. Even the Taika Waititi-isms, which may or may not work for me. At least it feels like an artist is behind it.
So then, follow-up question. So the original Ant-Man one was supposed to be directed by Edgar Wright, but he departed because him and Kevin Feige had specific differences on how the story was going to be told, and I respect that for both parties. He wanted to make one movie, they wanted to make another movie, fine. So they hired Peyton Reed, and now I'm wondering, is Peyton Reed kind of like not a jobber, because that's not a nice term, but somebody who's just like, all right, Kev, you want me to do this? Done, I'll make the movie that way. And then he just kind of like laments his style and accents that he probably well possesses, because I'm sure he's a well-respected film director, and he's just kind of doing what Kevin Feige wants. Do you think that's why they just kept him on? Because now that you mentioned that, it was a great point, by the way. When I'm thinking back about the film, there's nothing that really stands out. Like the first thing in Ant-Man 1, when they talk about the heist, and they have Paul Rudd's friend, whose name also escapes me. But he goes through all of like his background, like his little funny comic shtick, and they do that for Ant-Man 2, and then I guess by Ant-Man 3, okay, you can't keep recycling the same thing. But like, how many times are we gonna make the holes joke? And I didn't even laugh at that because it was funny. I laughed at it because I was like, this is what we're doing right now. This is the joke we're gonna make.
There was a moment in this movie,
and you belly laughed. Yeah, when MODOK said, "Don't be a dick" or something. You don't always have to be a dick.
When Cassie said, "Don't be a." Okay, so one of the things, you know who Christian Harloff is?
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, he's a YouTube critic / comedian. He's very good. He said on one of his reviews, a non-spoiler review, he said, MODOK has an awful line and there's a moment after that which is like a funny line. And when Cassie said, just don't be a dick, man. And then he said, don't be a dick? And then she goes, yeah, don't be a dick. And she walks away, and there was like some chuckles. You're silent. I realized, oh my God, was that supposed to be for laughs? And then I remembered what Christian Harloff said, and then I start belly laughing because I'm like, I can't believe that was meant to be a joke. And then you start laughing.
I was cracking up because you could not contain yourself.
I know, because I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I thought that was supposed to be like a sincere moment, but no, that was a joke. Okay, all right, cool. There's a character who's obsessed with holes. Apparently, a Rick and Morty writer is a part of the screenplay for this film, rather. So it kind of, I don't watch Rick and Morty, so I'm wondering if a lot of the.
I mean, they have like that like Family Guy toilet humor type of deal going on there. Not
Gotcha.
Rick and Morty.
But let's kind of circle this back to Kang a little bit, because that's something that's very odd here. Does Kang feel like he's in a different movie to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jonathan Majors is doing, like, he has to do 100 different performances, so his, he's Loki Kang...
He's doing a good job, by the way.
I think he does a great job, and and I'm happy that he, like, publicly said, this is supposed to be a different version, so don't come in here and freak out that it's not He Who Shall Not Be Named, or The One Who Knows, I forget his name in Loki. But that was cool. Like, he has to do a lot of work to act like 100 different versions of the same dude, so that's very hard. But I feel like he was in a Shakespearean play, and everyone else was in, like, a Comedy Central comedy. And it just did not mix.
Like, the scene where he's telling Scott, where he asks him, have I killed you before? They all kind of blend together. Are you the one with the hammer? I feel like Scott should have been like, did you kill Thor? Like,
that line in the trailer was delivered way better than the movie. The trailer made it seem like it was going to be Avengers 4 or 5. Like, it was supposed to be this end-all be-all, and it was none of that.
And did you remember the line that Scott gave after that?
Didn't he say, like, him and Thor are similar body types?
Yeah, it completely undoes the seriousness of the moment. Completely undoes it. For me. So here's my thing with Kang. Ultimately, the movie presents this as like, oh no, this is Kang, this is who Kang Dynasty is about. This one, he has the costume and everything.
His costume looked good. I liked
Costume
it.
does look cool. The mask, I originally didn't like the blueness, but I got used to it throughout the movie.
I just wish his eyes went full white.
Ooh,
When he got
that
the
would have been better.
blue, when he got the blue thing, if he went full white, Batman style, that would
You're,
dope.
no, you're right. I would agree with you there for sure. When he said, because I was a little confused. I don't know much about Kang. We are now at a point with the Marvel stories where I don't know much about what's happening. Once we get some X-Men stuff in there, I'll know. But right now we're in uncharted territories for me, so I'm going to sound like a buffoon for every Marvel podcast we do from here on out. Just preparing the audience for that, and you. So you can correct me if I'm ever wrong or sounding like a dum-dum. When Kang says, I will kill her, referring to Cassie, make you watch, turn back time, and then do it again, I'm thinking to myself, people are talking about Kang, this is him. He is Thanos level. I don't know if it was just me. I'm thinking, oh my god, he's going to kill Cassie right now and then undo it.
Oh, I thought the same thing, and that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's like stakes. Now you know, and he's literally like the perfect dude because he could undo what he did. But now he has shown you like there is proof. There are stakes to what I'm going to do.
Yes. And then, so by the time, right before the ants take away his suit, essentially, which is how he gets defeated.
Ants.
Yes. Super ants who went through like a time loop or something. It's cool that Hank Pym gets like his big moment, objectively, but Van Lathan, if you listen to the Midnight Boys, you'll listen to.
I'm listening to everything when we're done.
It's his massive flaw with the movie is the fact that Ant-Man defeated Kang, but right before he gets defeated by the ants themselves, I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, I can kind of see it, and maybe what's coming next is going to present him as like, whoa. And let me just get through this here, and then I want you to give me your talks about this entire sequence from here to where I finish. All right, he's zapping people like out of existence. He fries the headcanon dude.
That was
He fries his brain basically. It's really nuts. The ants then take over him. I'm thinking, okay, he's obviously not dead right here. He's probably going to come back horror movie villain style. Obviously, the Pym Lang family is leaving the quantum realm. That scene in the trailer, which should not have been in the trailer. Marvel, stop doing that.
Is that the one where he says we both don't have to, or I just can't, like we both can lose or something?
Yeah, I don't have to.
Yeah.
We both just have to lose. That hasn't happened yet, and I'm very cognizant of that. So I'm thinking to myself, clearly, Kang's going to come in and stop Scott from going through the portal. That happens. Then I'm thinking to myself, is he going to kill Scott here? No, probably not. Scott does the thing where he like busts the core, and then Hope comes in. Hope and Scott basically kill Kang, and I'm thinking to myself, what the f***? I see, I'm giving myself, this is how perplexed I was. I'm giving myself work here, people. I'm going to have to bleep that. Then I'm thinking to myself, the portal closes, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Are Scott and Hope going to be stuck here? Okay, that's kind of cool. And for a second before that, I was like, are Scott and Kang going to be stuck here? And that's how the movie's going to end. Whoa, that's kind of cool. And I was like, okay, Scott and Hope are stuck here. Nope, 30 seconds later, they just get brought back in. And it's like nothing ever happened. But that Kang, who people are referring to as like Kang Prime right now, that Kang is dead. I have no idea what to feel about this character, and I feel like I'm at a party. You know those parties where everyone's wearing headphones and they listen to music on there, but there's no music being played out loud?
Silent disco.
I feel like I'm at a silent disco and my Walkman's broken.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, how is no one else? How are you guys having fun with this and I'm not? What's happening? Did you? Okay, now I want you to just go on that entire sequence, from ants eating his suit to them escaping. How did you feel? What are your thoughts now? Are you dancing to the music like the rest of these people?
It was just
like I wish
flat.
I was?
It was just flat. That's the only way I can describe it without getting bleeped or being too aggressive about stuff that I don't have enough talent to make.
No. Go for the
But
bleeps. Who cares?
it's just getting to like this fucking point. Well, that was a freebie just because you said you're going to do it. Do they think we're stupid? Like, I don't get it anymore. We love this shit, and other people don't, and that's fine. But I don't want to sit there for 2 hours to watch something that doesn't matter. The whole film is like, at least things happen in Thor: Love and Thunder, and things happen in Multiverse of Madness, which I actually want to give a rewatch because I think that movie is better than I really thought.
I rewatched it the other day. It rules.
It's just like, they could have done so many things, and now one of my big fears, as it just popped into my head as we're talking about this, because Kang is Time God, they could continue to kill him off and make him better and write him better until they find the right version, and then when he kills everyone, he's just going to bring them all back. And it's kind of like, I'm nervous that this phase is going to be moot point because they're going to find the good Kang to fix everything. And I can really see that happening. And of course, it's comics and people die and come back. But I felt like if you were going to make this movie that big of a deal, I think trapping him with Kang would be cool because it's either got to be like you hide from him for years, grow a beard out, make new ant technology, maybe you learn how to talk with the ants, kind of like old Hawkman stuff, calling on DC right now. Or Kang, I guess you kill him off and he's not Kang Prime, but then you have hope. Like, if you get them stuck there and then the machine is broken, it's like it's not going to work like it did. When Avengers Infinity War ended, I don't even have the words to describe how excited I was. Because, to my knowledge, it's the first time the superheroes ever lost. And the movie ended with them losing. And I think it would have been cool if Ant-Man, who's not the best hero and has to really work against adversity, lost. And then you do a bunch of movies, and somehow he comes back, and everyone else worked to try and get him. I just feel like, I think you summed it up very well. It ended and it's like nothing ever happened. The end of the movie is the same as the beginning, and that's not a compliment in this sense. And I like that he was, at the end, he's thinking like, did we do the right thing? But then they just kind of continue, and I wish it got more dour, and like things changed, and it was kind of like when they go away for 5 years and then they come back. Then again, it might have borrowed from the ending of Loki, because I thought the ending of Loki was very good. It's hard to keep everything 100% original. But I can like no longer go to these 2-hour movies and be like, okay, but I expect things from Marvel now, and they're not delivering. They're just not. There's certain movies I go to, and I don't expect anything. Knock at the Cabin, just saw it, great film, didn't expect much, left very depressed, but elated because it was good. It was original. It was adapted from a book, but M. Night did his M. Night stuff. You could tell M. Night was making that movie, and he did whatever he wanted with it, and whatever you say about him is whatever you say. But whether his films are good or bad, even The Happening, would love to do a pod about that. He still has a style there. There's a beginning, there's an end, things happen, there's a story, people have changed. I just feel like with this, it was a moot point, 3-episode Disney Plus show put together, and then it ended. You made the best point of the whole pod, and we didn't even record it. You can't remember one person's name. Not one.
Yeah.
And I like really thought about it. I can't.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned something here. You said, I expect something from Marvel movies now. You know what's funny? I thought we were going to have a hard time filling up like 30 minutes, but I think we're going to go over an hour here, which is cool. But
Tends to happen.
Well, our goal with this podcast for with this specific episode is to kind of talk out what do we do when something like this happens. I want you to give me, all right, 30 seconds on the clock. Give me what you expect from a Marvel movie.
Like now?
Yeah, like nowadays. Like
well, at this point with this connected universe, number one, I want a good film. I want them to tell a story about the character that's in focus, and I think at this point they're going to be team-up movies, so add an extra characters, use it to foil people in. But if you're going to connect, then you have to have an ending, and I don't think they have that. They don't have a non-pun intended end game with Kang, which is why I personally think they're going to keep killing him and rewriting him until they find the one that the audience is like, wow, that's great. But that's what I expect. in 2023.
All I expect from these movies is to deliver me a decent blockbuster movie going experience. And I think my issue with from
And you want considerably less than me.
So, well, because here's my thing. Here's my thing, right? I understand that some of these goals are not going to be met. But people, I've been having a really big problem with the way that Marvel stans are talking about this down period in the MCU. I don't care what you have to say. This is a down period. It is what it is. Just call it out. Let the people making the stuff know, hey, this isn't as good as it used to be, and just move on. That's all. It's not this big existential, I think we're expecting too much. I hear so many people talking about, the movies are still, like, decent quality. We're just expecting Avengers Endgame level movies every single time. No, we're not. These movies are not as good as they used to be.
And don't sell us on movies that aren't going to be there. So their marketing for this is overdone, personally. They sold this to be a much bigger deal than it was.
Yes, that's the thing. And people are saying this whole thing. I told you this before the movie started yesterday. I said I'm sick and tired of people saying you have to watch this like an episode of a TV show. No, bro. I'm paying $15. I'm not paying per episode of television that I'm watching. I'm taking 2 hours out of my life to go watch this movie. I want a good film going experience. And this is not a bad one, but my gosh, is it kind of bland. It just feels like I'm just watching Koi Jandar, I believe that's how his name is pronounced. He's an online movie, I guess, opinionist / comic book guy. He said something that I found very profound about this movie. He's a big Marvel guy. And he I believe gave the movie like a C- score. He said this was like the first time in a long time with a Marvel movie where I didn't feel like I was immersed in a movie and experiencing it. I was just kind of looking at one. And that's kind of what this is. It's just kind of, oh, there's this big thing. And my biggest issue with this whole movie, my biggest issue with it, is every single thing starts off with promise. And none of it is delivered on. Kang starts off, oh, this performance is pretty good. Whoa, his powers seem pretty intimidating. He's already killed a bunch of worlds. He got banished here, and he's dead. Scott Lang. Oh, did he grow a little bit of narcissism here and there? He wrote a book. Is there some tension with him and his family? And it's all wrapped up by the end. Okay. And we saw them for like 50% of the movie. Hope and her mom. Have they... Oh, they're barely in the film at all. Especially Hope, whose name is in the title. The Wasp does almost nothing. Everything kind of feels like, ooh, you almost had something. You almost did. And then...
Michael Douglas wants to be killed off.
I don't blame him. He must have been miserable acting in the volume for 3 months. Like, that can't be a fun experience for someone who's such like a high-level experienced actor. I actually have this is very cringe. I'm warning you now. It's a soft pitch for what I think would have made this movie better. It's a completely different movie, though.
I'm all ears, and so are our billions of listeners. Let's go. They're in. If they made it this far, they're in.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think this would have been a better movie. It would not have been Quantumania. It would not have been... Kang would not have been in the movie. I think what would have made a better Ant-Man 3 is no big bad. And it's just a movie, kind of like a family, somewhat dramedy about Scott coming to grips with his daughter having grown up already without him being there. And you can kind of play with that as her wanting to become a superhero. Metaphorically, it's Scott saying, Jesus Christ, I missed my daughter's entire teenage years. I wasn't here. You're still like a child to me. And then by the end, you can have her like kind of suiting up and saving the day or something. And then you can also have the family dynamic of like Hope is in her 40s. She's supposed to bond with her mom who left when she was like 10. I just think that's a much more compelling story than this, like, well, Scott is a superhero who saved the world. He's like a top 10 Avenger ever. But now he doesn't care about saving the homeless? What? Hope is like kind of helping Cassie get a suit already off screen.
That's so odd, though, that she's going behind her supposed love's back. I feel like she would have brought that up to him.
It's really weird. Do you think that would have been... And that's not what Marvel movies are right now. But I feel like that would have been a better movie.
No, I think you know what? It's kind of like when they used to do comics back in the day. I don't know if they do it like this anymore, but the artists would draw everything. And then they would just design a story around it. And I feel like they're creating set pieces. And even the set pieces in this are not that good. Objectively, to me, they're just not. I've seen much better. But I feel like they're making like this would look cool. And then they're putting characters in. But what you're saying is you want more character study. And I wholeheartedly agree. It's the reason we like those Phase 1 movies, even the ones that aren't that good, is because you get a lot of time with these characters and they are giving you everything they got. And you want to see them grow and flourish. I just feel like Ant-Man's kind of getting shafted. And like I said before, this movie was just meant to boost the idea of Kang Dynasty, not even the Kang we're going to be looking at. The idea of Kang. Honestly, man, I know you hate Thor Love and Thunder, but I still think that film had more, and even if it's just literally one scene, it had one scene that got me to feel something. When Thor admits his love to Jane, to not take up the hammer anymore because he doesn't know what to do if he loses her. That, like, mattered to me. The movie was like, whatever. And even Christian Bale, like, he's okay, but, like, whatever. I thought that was a great character moment because Thor puts his gall to the side and everything that the movie's making him look like, and he's finally just admitting, like, his love and passion for this person, and he would drop the hammer right now. He just wants to be with her. I didn't feel like this movie had anything like that. Anything like it. And if anything, they could have capitalized, which wouldn't have made sense because it's, I mean, I guess she's in the title, but they could have spent more time with Hope and, what is her name?
Janet.
Thank you. And Janet, I feel like they could have had like a big argument, like some bombastic thing where it's like, it's been 30 years, you haven't told me anything, now is the time to talk. And like by them getting riled up, I feel like it was just kind of like, but mom, you need to tell me. You haven't talked. We're eating pizza. What are we doing? Like, just freaking yell at her, lady. Like, get me to listen. Get me to pay attention. I feel like there was a lot of noise but nothing going on. I really wish I could say something more positive, but off the top of my head, I don't really have much.
No, I do think that's fair, unfortunately. So let's then zero in on this conversation. We both find this movie to be basically just kind of not really memorable.
Yeah.
We mentioned... So here are my 3 categories of a blockbuster, of a negative thing that a blockbuster can be categorized as. Boring. I think a boring blockbuster is the worst thing that can happen. Absolutely the worst thing. The best negative thing a blockbuster can be is bad, oddly enough. Because if it's a bad movie, it might be so bad that it's good. It might be kind of corny and it might be fun to make fun of. You might laugh at some of the absurdity of it. But then there's like a middle thing that I didn't really think about until last night. What happens when a blockbuster is completely and utterly bland? What happens when you just kind of look at something and you feel nothing? I texted one of our friends and I said I watched it and I don't feel anything. And he said, wow. And he told his brother, and his brother was like, wow. He doesn't really just say stuff about movies like that. So that he must not be lying. And that's what I said to you when we were walking to our cars. I said, I don't have any takes on this movie. Cards on the table. I'm just going to put this out there, dude. We weren't sure if we could do this pod because we didn't have any takes.
No, I wholeheartedly agree.
So I think the question coming out of this movie is, number one, this is a quick question for you because I already gave my answer. Boring. What do you think is the worst thing a blockbuster could be? Real quick, what out of those three things, what do you think is the worst thing?
Well, if I'm not niching it to like a Marvel blockbuster, just a blockbuster,
Yeah.
I would say boring is the number one.
Yeah.
For Marvel, I would say more forgettable because I laughed at times, but like, dude, this movie to me really didn't matter.
Okay.
I'd say you could almost you don't have to watch it
Yeah.
because
No,
there was
you're
stuff
right.
I laughed at. Like it was so bad I laughed, and like I was watching, but like you, I felt like nothing, and it felt weird to feel nothing. I was ready to eat.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So now you've said that you're a massive movie fan and massive music fan. Those are your two lanes of art forms, and you have film franchises as well as musical acts, bands, artists that you are a long form fan of, correct? Or a long term fan of, I should say, not long form.
Yeah.
What do you do when they put out something that doesn't make you feel something? What do you do when an artist puts out something that you just kind of go, to? I have my answer.
I also have my answer, and it's something that I'm afraid will happen to Marvel.
Oof.
Walking Dead, the perfect example. I was a diehard fan of that show. I believe you enjoyed it as well.
Loved it.
But I was like, I want the shirts. I'm going to start reading again, look at the comics. Like, I want to know everything. I'd say it was my sophomore, junior year of college, it starts to go downhill. And then spoilers, if you haven't watched it, I heard it got better after this season, or maybe 2 seasons later. They kill Carl. And the whole time, the show is looking as though Rick is going to die or leave, and then Carl will be next to Ken. Like, there's so much time and devotion into him. And the way he dies is so lame. It's so stupid. All the set pieces building up were pretty good, and I was like, all right, maybe they're going to do something here. And then they just kill him off. And I was like, what is the future of this show? And then I realized that they didn't really have an end. And I really did try to watch 1 or 2 more episodes, and I was like, I have zero investment left in this show. They're going to continue to do the same thing where they suck you in, they tell a halfway decent story, they try to kill off 1 or 2 major characters. And one of the worst things about that whole show is that they came out at a Comic-Con and said no major characters will die. And I believe that was after Carl was killed, so it was like Daryl, I forget some of the characters of this one because I haven't watched in a while. But there was like 5 main characters that you knew right away. They would be in a room full of zombies, no way out. They will not die. And I was like, there's no more stakes. You're not selling me on anything because maybe I don't want my favorite character to die, but I want to know that they can get hurt. That's why Game of Thrones, before season 8, which was just absolute trash, I didn't know that you could just kill everybody. And I would get invested into a character and they would die in 4 episodes. And I was like, damn. What about the next guy? And then they kill everyone off. They don't care how you feel. They're telling a real, well, there's dragons, but they're telling an authentic story where anything can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter who you are. You know what I mean? So, Walking Dead is my best example. I just gave up on it. I tried to rewatch it. I couldn't do it. I tried to pick up where I left off. I couldn't do it. It's one of the only things in my entire life, nerddom music, that I've quit on, and I've never looked back. I don't care what happens. I'm over it. They wasted my time. I'm done.
So something similar for me. When stuff, I gave up on The Walking Dead way sooner than you did. I gave up the season after Negan came in and started like slaughtering everyone. Because I just kind of found a formulaic nature to the show at that point that just kind of stopped working for me. It felt like nothing was happening. And it kind of just stopped being memorable. It just kind of got bland after a while. Kind of like this. But I think that there is hope here. Guardians 3 is coming out. That movie has to be good. It has to be. And it
has to have
really
stakes.
Good. I think it will. Dave Bautista has said that he's leaving the franchise, so that like all but confirms that he's at least going to ride off into the sunset in that movie, possibly die. So I think that there is hope coming down the pipeline. We also have two massive introductions coming. Fantastic Four and X-Men. I believe X-Men is going to save the MCU. And they need it. But for me, what happens with this type of stuff, specifically when there's like, it seems like there's like a down period for like whatever I'm a fan of. I tend to lower my expectations. I still check out what's happening. But at that point, you now have to work to get me back in. I'm not going to say that I'm not as excited for Marvel movies as I was back in, gosh. Honestly, from the first, were you with me watching Iron Man for the first time?
No, I was with two of our other friends.
Are they brothers?
Mm-hmm.
I think I was with you guys, bro.
Then you were there.
I'm pretty sure, because I remember us being, because we watched that and we watched Origins Wolverine together. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, two different theaters, but yeah.
Yeah. From 2008 until 2021. Yeah, from that to 2021, I was super excited for every single release. Even with movies that I was like, oh, this might not be the greatest, but it still seems like it's going to be fun. Now, I'm just not as excited to go to these movies anymore. I'm going to them as okay, let's see what they're offering me this time. And I think that there is a danger here right now of Marvel possibly falling out of the cultural zeitgeist. This movie is going to be the barometer, in my opinion, for is Marvel bulletproof? There was a time when they were kind of running things for the movies for the past 5 years, probably. I don't know if that's the case anymore, dude. I really don't. The next big blockbuster to come out is going to be Creed 3, oddly enough, with Jonathan Majors as the primary antagonist as well, which I just find so funny.
Good year for him. Good for him.
Yeah,
get the bag.
Yeah, yeah, and he's shown he can carry his load. The wonder I have is, will this movie cross the $700 million mark? There is no shot this makes $1 billion. No. And if it doesn't cross 700 million,
does Ant-Man come out in China or no?
This one?
Yeah.
I can look that up for you right now.
Because I think domestically it made 104 or 105 million this weekend. Just in the United States.
So the China. So yeah, it is going to release in China. Yeah. Okay. It is. I don't know if it has yet. There was a premiere on the 14th. But yeah, so 98 million global so far. I really don't think it's going to hit $1 billion at all.
No way.
If it doesn't cross, if it does like Batman v Superman money, what do we do? If it doesn't make Justice League money, what are they going to do?
Justice League is low.
What happens? I don't think it's going to make Justice. I think it's going to wait because Justice League made what, 400 million, maybe 3.
Justice League was low, but Kevin Feige allegedly has 3 phases planned at a time, which sounds great in interviews, but there's just no shot. Maybe it's storyboarded, but you do not have all of this written out. There's no way.
No.
And these movies are constantly rewritten and fixed while the film is being filmed, but
and that's my biggest issue with this one. It feels like a factory-made movie.
So I think if this movie bombs, or quote-unquote bombs, doesn't
Marvel
do
bombs.
Marvel bombs, I think Guardians will be the make or break. If Guardians crushes, as it probably will, I think they're going to kind of maybe hopefully look back at the Ant-Man third film and say okay, we clearly can't keep redoing this. They've already started to make changes, which is nice to see. They're doing less shows. They're seeming to be more focused, which is huge. And I think they understand, you could do this for 200 years. You could do this till literal humans don't exist anymore. If you just take your time and you release quality work. We will wait. The nerds have waited. We will wait. And you could be gone for a year. Let DC drop a movie. Okay, great. You know what they're going to come back for? The next Marvel thing. They're not going to forget. And if you leave them on a good note, let's say they don't release any more movies post Guardians 3. It's a 2-year drought. But Guardians 3 is 98% Rotten Tomatoes, Sevilla Oscar nominated, visual effects, people were like, Batista is God. They could wait 4 years. Drop little teasers. People are going to be in. DC does this shit all the time, and their movies suck. And people go. I go. Now, the Batman was a work of art. Chef's kiss. But when they made the Justice League trailer, I was like, give me a new pair of pants, because Jesus Christ. And that movie sucked. What a birthday gift for you.
Yeah.
But then they did the re-release with the Snyder Cut. We were like, new pair of pants. Let's go. This is great.
Yeah.
People will go. I just want better shit.
The ultimate proof of concept to the take your time model, it just came out 2 months ago. Avatar: The Way of Water is a sequel 11 years in the making.
No.
And did it hit 2?
Yeah, and then Titanic beat it because of the re-release, but they're just going to keep ping-ponging back and forth.
That movie made $2 billion.
It's insane.
People will wait if it's.
And now they're going to make 3 more.
Yeah, that might be. I might go see that one in IMAX.
I'll join. Still haven't seen.
Awesome. I'll hold you to that.
Can't wait to be wowed by mediocrity.
Oh well, we definitely weren't wowed by mediocrity yesterday. I'll tell you that much right now. So all right. With that said, let's bounce back into the movie a little bit. Speaking of mediocrity, what do you think of MODOK?
Hilarious.
So he worked for you?
No, he was stupid as shit, but he was so funny. That MODOK, I said before we hit record, he works great as a comic villain, a video game villain, a cartoon on TV villain, but in real life, that was whoever. I genuinely think they were like, let's put MODOK, and they're like, that's fucking stupid, and they're like, let's buy into how stupid it is. Because I will say, when they made fun of his face, I was like, thank God we're acknowledging what's going on. And I cackled when he's like, baby legs. And he kicked his leg. And then you sent me a tweet today and somebody took a screenshot of his butt. I thought that was great. But, like, there was no fucking need. No need.
Do you remember, you share my love for Crazy Stupid Love, right? Do you remember what Ryan Gosling's character said to Steve Carell in the mall when they were shopping for sunglasses?
You know these lines way better than me, but please refresh.
I'm single and disgusting. The line was, the skin under your eyes is starting to look like Hugh Hefner's ballsack. That's what MODOK looked like. He looked like that. It was awful. He looked like a potato stretched out over someone's face. It was horrendous.
It was so odd. They could have put his normal sized face in like a liquid jar.
Would have been better.
Anything, really.
Maybe just don't take the mask off.
I'm happy that they bought into how stupid it was, but I was like, this is just dumb. Like, what are we doing?
Well, speaking of dumb, how did you like his death? Did that work for you?
I did laugh when Paul Rudd did not want to make him an Avenger.
Yeah, that was funny.
So as flat as shit as this movie was, there were lines where I was like, that was funny. That was good. Bad movie. This is good. I mean, like, I'm happy he died. He served no purpose. They kind of tried to do that whole, like, Red Skull thing where he goes to the Netherrealm and he's still a thing, which that was done way better. There's just no characterization to Ant-Man, and Paul Rudd's such a good actor.
Well, there used to be characterization to Ant-Man, but not in this one.
They have completely deteriorated.
It's weird.
His first character, and I get it, ebbs and flows are supposed to change, whatever, life happens. But it's like, I can't remember anything he really does in this movie. He doesn't do anything. And I don't feel for him at all.
I think that's the point, though. But it just doesn't work.
So we're not supposed. So you're saying they made it so we're not supposed to care about him?
I think they made it so that he's not supposed to do anything. That's like the plot of the movie, isn't it? Where Cassie's saying like,
because he doesn't fight, he's forgetting the little guy.
Yeah, it just doesn't translate throughout.
I feel like
film.
they didn't even focus on him enough to allow him to go through that characterization.
No, they did not.
He was forced to do it because they stole something he wanted, and he didn't do it out of being a good person.
Yeah, I know. It just doesn't work. And Scott Lang was actually something that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad that we're here. I think he is one of the, maybe the most likable Avengers character.
Oh yeah, I mean Paul Rudd's a gem.
Like sincerely likable. Even the character, like when he, I forget the line that he says when he first meets Captain America, but him being so nervous to meet this guy is awesome, and you buy that, and it's like, well, no, that might just be Paul Rudd being so nervous to be in one of these big blockbusters finally and taking this massive leap in his career that he's like actually really excited in this moment, and it just comes through on the screen so earnestly. And in this movie, it does not at all. There is a moment where I'm thinking to myself, oh, are we getting serious with this? Again, it was that moment where Kang is like torturing Cassie. He, as grim as it is, they should have made him kill Cassie, or like on the verge of it, and then he reverses it somehow. I think that would have just been awesome because it really would have set him up. But the only time I really get that Paul Rudd charm is when there's multiples of him and he's freaking out about it.
Yeah,
like that was funny, especially Baskin Robbins Scott.
this is my uniform.
Yeah, I'm wearing real normal clothes. What are you guys wearing? By the way, the suit is a bit of a downgrade this time around.
It looked like a store suit.
Like what?
Your talking just made me think about it. Now that we're movie writers today, if they had Kang like kill the city, that first city where Scott's like, we're gonna go, we'll talk about it later, but we're not gonna help these people, and Kang comes down and he straight up murders them, like violent. Like, you have to look away. Obviously, it's PG-13, but, like, these people are incinerated. He does all that cool killing stuff at the end. In that moment, it would have been cool if his daughter was like, when you act like how you do, this happens. Like, don't forget where you came from just because you're popular now. I feel like it would have been... Now, sometimes it's like, you don't always have to show and tell. But I feel like it would have been cool if he finally saw his narcissism actually negatively impacting people. Because he used to be so for the little guy and so selfless. I don't feel like we really got to see that. It was when he lost something he needed. That's when he was time to beat Kang up. And then those people come help him, even though he really put them in danger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, for sure. I think it's supposed to be Cassie's moment in that regard. But here's the thing. It falls flat anyways. So you might as well make it kind of connect back to Scott a little bit more to try and make... I would have preferred the way you put it. Oddly enough, it kind of feels like... it kind of feels like Zack Snyder should have directed this movie. Because I think his...
Let's not get crazy.
Hold on.
Let's not get crazy.
His sensibility...
Everyone would have been a Greek god or goddess. It would have been 6 hours.
Yeah, and then Scott would have died with something...
Slow motion.
Yeah, I know. But I think that there should have been some more zest to it. And can we talk about Scott and Cassie, a pivotal scene of theirs for a second?
Please.
Could you tell at all that they were giant when they were?
No, I had no idea. I genuinely had no idea they were giant, and it was really weird when they were talking about how giant they were and how hungry she was, and then they shrink back down, but it looked like they were as tall as they should have been. Mm-hmm. The scope didn't make sense.
None of it. It didn't translate. I guess the citrus and limes portion was funny, but if they weren't moving that slow and talking the way that they were, you would have just thought that they were like joking around about being big, but it just does not really compute at all.
Would like a cliche angry daughter overbearing dad thing would have worked for you? Because you brought up that he basically missed her growing up, so although it's cliche and we've seen it billions of times, would that have added to this film? Particularly when they get lost in the quantum realm? Like, I feel like she shouldn't have had a suit.
So here's my thing. I agree that she shouldn't have had a suit.
I feel like he could have had that, and then, like, when you're ready, kind of like a Spider-Man type deal.
But I think it shouldn't have been angry on either side. I think I like the characterization of them when they were younger, how he's like this father who's not always around, but loves her sincerely and wasn't around because of circumstance. Like, it kind of repeats. Oh wow, we are kind of getting into the weeds thematically of what this movie could have been here. It kind of repeats the cycle of him being in prison in the first place. He's in prison. He probably misses a chunk of his daughter's life then. He's imprisoned in the quantum realm and misses 5 years. He should be the same way. She should be the same way. But it should kind of be more dramatic because he didn't just miss, like, however many months or a year or whatever. He missed her entire, like, forming into an adult. So I don't know if it should have been either of them were angry. I've kind of grown. Van Lathan has this thing where he doesn't like plucky teenagers.
He hates them.
But I have this little bit of a disdain for like moody, brooding teenagers too. So I don't know. I think I would have preferred her to be happy-go-lucky, but still like really, maybe sincerely caring and wanting to help, but Scott isn't letting her. Would you have preferred her to be moody?
Maybe not moody, but like, I think we have now been going for an hour and 7 minutes. Way to go, us. But the more we talk about it, the overarching problem might have been Kang. Like, maybe you shouldn't have had Kang in this movie at all. Because when I think of Guardians, I think of family, I think of a unit, I think of a unit that we have seen through not only their solo movies, but also other Avengers movies, and they have grown together, they have hated each other, they have loved each other, they have figured out different things about each other, even in their Christmas special. I was like, this is corny, but I love it because it's these characters that, like, even though they're tired of playing this, they do it to the nth degree. And characterization through the roof. When we get to Ant-Man 3, I feel like what we're asking for is basic stuff, but they don't really have the time to do it because you have to set up big bad guy. And of course every hero movie needs a villain or something, but maybe you could have just made it MODOK. And it could have been whatever, about trying to get to Kang or something. And then people might have complained and said, well, just give us Kang or whatnot. But if I can't like feel for Ant-Man and his ant family, then why do I care when he steps down and his daughter takes over? Because I leave the movie feeling nothing.
Yeah, man.
And then Kang is almost the problem by proxy because he's there. And you have to write him in. And again, Jonathan Majors crushed. But he was also in like a whole different movie.
Well, the weird thing about this is Kang's already introduced in Loki.
And his introduction to Loki I thought was great. I thought that was the best part of Loki, number one. I hated their stupid karate scenes when they all know magic and other powers and abilities and they just do karate chops. But the best stuff in Ant-Man was when they were talking. Particularly when Jonathan Majors was talking and making threats that hopefully he was going to deliver on, and then he would just spin people around. But I don't know. I don't want to fall into the trap of repeating myself an hour in here.
Yeah.
But
no, for sure. So
just a problem, just a mess on multitudes of levels.
Yeah, and
not even a mess I hate. I really wish I hated the movie. I wish it did more stuff that I objectively hated, but it was just so blah that I'd almost rather watch a movie I hated so I could point out and be like angry. I'm just more annoyed that it's like, why can't I like you or hate you?
Yeah, that's the thing. Nothing has really done that poorly. Is this your least favorite Marvel movie?
Talking about it right now, I mean, I have to do a full rewatch, but I would say Thor: Love and Thunder was better. It had one better scene, literally one better scene. It had one scene where I cared. I did not care. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I'd say in the terms of all the Marvel movies, it's probably the worst one. It's just there.
All right, that's fair. For me, it sits in my bottom 5. I think my bottom 5 consists of Love and Thunder, which I said is my least favorite. Captain Marvel, which unfortunately I find boring. Eternals, which I find boring. And then I'd probably say this movie. Because while it's not boring, it's not particularly engaging.
No, it's just like there.
Let's wrap this up with saying this, or with asking this question. Are you still excited for what's to come this year? Guardians 3, I assume you're still excited for this.
Guardians, yes, because I know what I'm going to get with that.
Okay. Are you aware of what shows are coming out this year? I believe there was 2 that are supposed to be coming.
Is the Marvels coming out this year as well?
That is a movie.
That's a movie, yeah. But the shows... I'm honestly drawing a blank, so whatever your Google search renders.
Okay, so, are you excited for Loki Season 2?
I'm looking forward to it, yes. I will say, because that was the best Marvel show, I think it'll continue to be...
I'll say this.
Done well.
If Owen Wilson is in the show prominently, I will be very excited for it.
Yeah, he was great.
It pissed me off that he was not in the show more last season. I think that his I couldn't think of the word chemistry for a second. Wow. His chemistry with Loki was incredible, and I wish that the finale of the show had him in it as well, interacting with Loki. So I'm looking forward to that if he's in there. You excited about the Marvels?
No.
Wow, okay. Okay. Why?
The show also didn't do it for me. Miss Marvel, I was not really into it.
We are on exact opposite ends of the spectrum with that show, which is so fascinating. But here's the thing. I'm not that excited for the movie because I'm worried that Kamala Khan will not be
utilized.
Yeah. The best thing about that show is her and her family dynamic and just kind of how cheery that she can be. I'm worried it's going to be a little weighty for her. And my thing is, I said this 1,000 times on this podcast. We know that Brie Larson is a very talented actress, but they did not give her any characterization that was engaging in Captain Marvel, the first film. Utilize her more. And by the way, all the weirdos online that harass her, get a life. That's so cringe. Isn't that so cringe?
Yeah, it's stomach turning.
Like that's
like, what are we doing?
Like, grow up.
Learn how to talk to people in public.
Yeah, don't be a loser. That's so whack. If we were to have any of them listening to here, I would just tell them to kick rocks and stop.
Don't
listening.
be one of those guys that brings a giant pillow to dinner.
I love that guy. That guy is hilarious.
Stop that.
The TikTok guy is awesome, and he's on Instagram Reels. I follow him on both. I'm gonna send you one. I'm gonna send it to the chat today.
Don't.
He posted a video. It was really good. It was really funny.
No, it's not.
Mika-san. He's amazing.
Stop.
That's what she's
Get to your last point.
Okay. So, you are 50-50 on releases this year. Are you excited for Kang Dynasty after what we saw in the post-credit scene? Because that's the only thing we haven't really talked about.
I'm lukewarm because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen.
Yeah, I found that a little... I didn't...
Now that... I'm going with more my theory that they're going to keep rewriting and introducing new Kangs till they find the one. I don't know. I really don't know.
So Mallory Rubin mentioned the phrase Council of Kangs. And then our buddy said Council of Kangs and also said Council of Reed Richards. Now I'm a little worried.
Well, Kang... I might not be 100% right, but I believe Kang, like Iron Man and Reed Richards are descendants of Kang. In some way, shape, or form.
Okay. That we'll see. Here's my final question for us right now. Because I don't think we'll be talking about any of this when it comes to Guardians 3. I think that conversation is going to be more centered around that movie, about finality in that in certain respects to blockbusters. If this saga, the multiverse saga, fails to hit with us, will you still be there for what we'll theorize might be the mutant saga?
Oh, that's a good question.
And here's how I'll phrase it. By fails, I don't mean all the movies are bad, because we haven't disliked all the movies that have come out in Phase 4. I, for one, I really enjoy 3 movies in Phase 4. No Way Home, Shang-Chi, Multiverse of Madness. You, I believe, liked Shang-Chi, No Way Home, Love and Thunder you thought was solid. Was there another one?
Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, okay, Multiverse of Madness. Boom.
It's up there, but now I want to rewatch it. It might affect my
Okay.
ranking there.
So we didn't hate all of it.
No.
So I'm saying if all of Phase 5 and Phase 6, let's say we like 60% of the movies for the next two phases, which will culminate this saga. Will you still be there for the next saga?
Oh, the next saga is mutants. Like
I would assume
if
so.
it's a stark change in addition, I'm in. But if it's gonna try to continue to use, like, for lack of a better term, like B-C list characters to carry a never-ending story, I will definitely hesitate. I won't rush to the theater to see it. But I think if they can capitalize on that introduction of mutants to a point, like, technically it's already been introduced because Kamala is supposed to be the first mutant, but, like, if we really get X-Men or Fantastic Four, because it's new, I will try that no problem. But if they're going to kind of just continue to retread this stuff, I'm going to be a little more hesitant.
Okay, that's fair. You were probably the biggest MCU head that I know.
Of our friends, yeah, and it's hanging on by a thread.
Well, and I'm just a big superhero movie guy. So right now I'm hanging on by a thread just entirely because I'm very heavily. I know more DC than I know Marvel, but I love the Marvel movies and I loved when DC movies are good. So I'm just kind of like hanging on by a thread in general. I'm kind of feeling a little sad right now about the state of comic book movies in general. Are you feeling a little sad? Do you have any hope? Where are you at?
Your boy is in a dark place.
Yeah.
You don't need to send help, but it's just upsetting because I was always afraid we were going to hit this wall where it's either because we're older, we're not into this anymore, or because they're not making it as well. And I really think it's the latter. They're just not making it as well.
I'm a child.
And my brother-in-law brought up a great point. He was like, you would think that after making all these mistakes with comic books, they would find solutions in the film. And they're now just making the same mistakes in film that they did in comic books. And I was like, wow. Because he was a huge comic book reader. He has, like, ones that are worth thousands. He's collected all of them. And then he got older and he stopped. But he took me to all my first hero movies and he was telling me, like, the lore and everything. And as they continued, he was just like, I don't care. Like, he really was just waiting for Wolverine to join the MCU. And now it's like 20 years later, of course, because of rights and whatever. Hopefully they live up to his expectations when he gets there. But I really just hope that they can look at this whole phase. And even though financially it might have been majoritively successful, they really do take into account, like, older people's views and thoughts on these films. Because a 12-year-old is going to watch anything you put in front of them. But we are longevity. We've been here since 2008. We're going to continue to buy those seats because we're the ones who can afford it. Do us the justice and make the right stuff.
That was really good. Really well said. Is your brother-in-law still kind of, because I know he was really into these movies. How's he feeling about them right now? You mentioned
he has not watched them in like a minute. He wanted me just to tell him the entire plot of Ant-Man Quantumania. He has zero feeling in it anymore. He's out. I think the last one he really sat and watched was Marvel-wise was Logan, but that's not even connected because Wolverine's his favorite. He watched the Batman. I think he might have watched like one or two of the MCU shows and he was like, done. These are bad. He just, I don't know. If I could see him falling out, I could see myself also falling out. I just hope I don't. I love this stuff.
I don't think, I'll say for myself, I don't think I'll ever fall out of the superhero movie genre. It's my second favorite genre. I mean, dude, if I haven't fallen out of entire hope for the DC universe, there's something that could happen that could make me fall out of it. But so far that is up in the air. We won't talk about that on mic right now, though. If I can last through that, I think I can last through this down period of Marvel stuff. There is a possibility that I stop seeing these movies opening weekend and wait to see what the me not seeing Eternals in the theater is the first Marvel movie that I missed in theaters.
Wow, you didn't see it in theaters? I went by myself.
I waited till the day it came out on Disney Plus. Was that the same week as the Snyder Cut? That might have been the same week.
Might have been.
If it was, then the day it came out on Disney Plus, is the day I watched it.
Wow.
And for me, I'm glad I did, because it didn't really work for me. So that might be the future of me in these movies. I'll still give them a chance eventually, but there comes a point where if it's like, if we get a year of misses, which we haven't had yet, an entire year of them, that's when I might go, whoa. And if we're being completely honest, if people stop like listening to pods on them, then that gives us less of a reason to talk about them. Then it's going to be like...
all about the content.
Well, yesterday we were like, do we try and rush to watch something else? And it's like, no, we should probably... This is probably the smartest movie to talk about, but also, we kind of found our lane with it. This was an unremarkable movie, and what do we do with that? And I think the answer is, you bitch and moan for an hour plus. That's what happens. We've been going an hour 20 here.
122.
We got to go to bed.
Heck yeah.
Oh my gosh. If you've made it this far into the podcast, thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to this on YouTube, please do us a favor. Leave this a like and drop a comment below, literally about anything. It helps us enter into the YouTube algorithm and helps us get out there to more people. The more viewership we get and the more subscribers / followers, whatever the case may be, we get, the more often we can do this. If you are listening to us on the podcast feed, do us a favor. Leave us a 5-star review or a thumbs up rating, depending on what app you are on. And again, leave us a positive review. It again helps us out in those algorithms, and we just need those to be boosted. KG, they heard a song at the beginning of this podcast. Where can they listen to that song and maybe some other of your musings?
Yeah, it's at Above the Moon Music on Instagram, and if you just look up Above the Moon on anywhere you're listening to music, Spotify, Apple, whatever you got, you'll find us there.
And you can find me exploring the quantum realm, thinking about life, maybe trying to find my own broccoli-headed man.
Cut that shit.
By the way, one last thing. People were talking about this movie being really weird because we had like a broccoli guy. Groot's a talking tree. We've had talking sentient plants before.
And I love broccoli. Favorite vegetable. So I was a big fan of that guy.
Yeah, I know. Should have had a talking Brussels sprout. That would have been my jam. But anyways, we're going on way too long here. Once again, thank you all very much for listening to this month's edition of the Sweaty Dive podcast. I believe next month we might be talking about Creed 3 or something else. I'm not sure.
We got fun stuff. March has got some... Oh, we got John Wick 4.
Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. Forget Creed 3. We're talking John Wick 4. That's a 2 hour 40-minute movie, I'm pretty sure.
Let's go. We're going to be talking about all the Wicks.
Yo, get ready for like a 4-hour pod.
Hell yeah. You don't even have the memory.
It's going to be fire. I'm so excited. Okay. Yeah. See you next month for John Wick Chapter 4. Once again, I have been Buff Charmander, joined as always by my good pal KG.
Until next time.
Stay safe and stay sweaty, my friends.